Hello, everybody, and welcome to a Creatively Me with Bree time-lapse replay where I tried my best to describe to you what on earth I did during this process. I created this piece using the Procreate app. This is the final product and what it looks like. The brush that I used was the turpentine brush, both for painting as well as the smudging tool. I started with a black background and then painted everything on one layer. With that, let's jump in. Using the turpentine brush, I placed down a variety of brushstrokes. I did work on a 5000 pixel by 5000 pixel at 300 dpi, which is why majority of the imagery is square and in the center of this YouTube video. Once I have smudged around some of the colors, I do start to try and create some leaves and further greenery to add to this bouquet. I really tried to stick with about 3 to 4 different greens as my colors. I try not to vary it up too much because then I think sometimes paintings, at least for myself, can get a little chaotic. So I tried really hard to stick to like 4 colors, kind of a dark green, a medium green, a lime green, and then sort of a light teal blue. I'll be honest, the least favorite part of this project were these flowers. They took me a lot longer than I would like to admit to try and figure out how to make them come to life. But you live and you learn, so here we are. I was sure to use a couple of different references so that I could get the lighting somewhat believable, hopefully believable. And in case you haven't noticed yet, I did make my light source up in the top left corner. So basically pretend there's like a light bulb in the top left corner and it's shedding light down on these leaves and one side of this flower in particular. From here, I add in other floral elements. I have no idea what they are or what they're called, but I wanted some different shapes. So we have like some sort of berry. What kind, you ask? No idea. None. I did slow down this part quite a bit so you could see all the different steps that I am taking in order to create these finer details. And then here we're going to get a little closer in so you can see some of the brush strokes that I'm making. I'm just using the turpentine brush, and then once I get my brush strokes down, I go back in using my smudge tool, which is selected on the turpentine brush still. And at least for my style, I'm leaving some of the edges a harder edge and then softening up the rest. I think, at least for me, I like having parts of the leaf in focus and then parts of it not in focus. And then once I get this down, I end up copying it and then just moving it and painting black on top and smudging out any details that aren't working. And that's just because I didn't like its placement, and that's an easy fix. So I just circled the area, copied it, moved it, and then painted on top. I could have just painted from scratch, but if I already had it painted, I figured just copy and paste. And you'll also see me towards the end implement that same tactic to create some of the smaller details on the bottom part of the bouquet. Again, I really struggled with the floral elements. By the end, I think I somehow managed to pull it off, but it was a frustration, honestly. But I'm glad that I stuck with it because I love the end piece. Can't stress enough how important it is to use a reference depending on the level of realism that you're going for and the level of detail. So I made sure that I had my reference. And while you don't see it in this video, I had to restart this flower several times. I just cut it out so that way you guys could see the straightforward approach without all the mistakes and errors, though I am not afraid to admit that the errors are there. The mistakes were made. And you can even see here, I'm moving around a lot, trying to sort of figure out where I want this lighting to come from. I change the brush strokes a lot because I'm just not sure how to make this flower in particular look like correct in terms of perspective and getting the leaves to do the right things. Petals, not leaves. My apologies. Um, so, by the end, I just sort of said this is good enough. And I think I would do it differently in the future. But, again, I tried it and I learned some important information that will help me in my future painting. I don't really have much to say about this part other than these were my favorite flowers to make, probably because they were the easiest to make. But I liked that they were so small and they just added so much life to the piece. Sorry if I'm a little quiet, I just don't have much to say. This part's pretty self explanatory. I do add in some, various purples and blues to just add a little bit more vibrancy and warmth to the piece. I don't know, in my head, this was supposed to be like a vintage piece, but I wanted it to have sort of just like a new, fresh, vibrant feel to it. Here, I add a little bit of a background where I think light would cast, like if it was near a wall. I do end up regretting that decision towards the bottom where I'm painting now, but I correct that in time. It's okay. And I am back at it with this flower, trying desperately to figure out how to make it work. And I mean, like I said, the flowers really got me. And this is me really trying, making several attempts to try and figure out how to improve this flower. We are almost finished with this piece. I'm just adding in, sort of rounding out the bouquet and adding in just random floral elements, green elements. I don't know what kind of flowers or plants those are, but they're there. In case I didn't make myself perfectly clear, the flowers were the hardest part for me, this one included. I am getting really into flowers right now. I've been watercoloring a lot, so I am learning flowers and their names. So, hopefully with time I'll actually be able to tell you what on earth I'm painting, or if it's a made up flower or a combination of flowers. But for this one, I couldn't tell you to save my life which flowers I was painting. Okay, and over here I start getting down some purple flowers. I do end up painting back in some of that black background because I just felt like it was too light and I really needed more shadow on this side of the bouquet, just based on where my lighting was coming from. Which we remember, an invisible light bulb from the top left corner. I do end up taking out some of the elements that I didn't think were working, add in some down here that I think would work better. And I'm about to show you guys how I finish off the rest of this piece. So those pink flowers at the top, I copy them and bring them down at the bottom. I make them darker and smudge them into the section. I also take the purple flowers and some of the greenery I've already painted and copy and paste it down and then paint in areas where I feel like it needed attention. It was a quick way to pull the rest of it together at the very last minute, and this is the final product. Thank you all so much for spending time with me during this time-lapse replay. I hope that you were able to get something out of this and enjoyed the watch. And I'll be back soon with a full-length tutorial on my favorite watercolor florals, as well as a step-by-step digital floral tutorial.